Hello party people, what's going on? Today we are starting a vlog for A Little Life. I actually have already read the first like 100 pages, so I'll get into that in a minute, but I finished reading The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue recently, the day before yesterday, and as soon as I finished that book I was like, now is the time. Now is the time to pick up A Little Life, because it's been collecting dust on my shelf. You can probably see it in the majority of my videos back here. However, I haven't had the urge to read it because I feel like my books don't lead into it yet. Today is the day. This is the day for this beautiful book to be read. I'm not going to read the whole thing, obviously. This is not going to be an all-day read. This is like 800 pages of intense content. So we're going to take this step by step, slowly and surely, and make sure our mental health is also in check. Yes, this is not a homework assignment. So the first 100 pages of the book was basically just the foundation of it all. Just, I want to say it mainly targets their friendship and how they speak to each other, how they view each other. There was a part in the first part where, I don't remember which character it was, but they were just talking about Jude and how Jude is scared of the camera, like camera shy, and doesn't really like being on camera, always turns away from the camera. And one of the friends is an artist, and so he got a picture of Jude from a long time ago and he painted it, but he knew that Jude would never like let him put it up, so he never told him. And he's like, the only way Jude is gonna know about this is if it's hanging up in a museum or something. And so he was just describing Jude in the most beautiful way, where it was like, not many people get to see the side of Jude because no one can really see it other than us. And so it was well portrayed in the painting, is I think what he's trying to say, which is really sweet. And so that part of the book I was like, oh, but yes, it was really cute. The research for this book is necessary because it has a lot of trigger warnings, like a lot of trigger warnings. There is already self-harm talked about in the first part of the book, but it wasn't too crazy. It wasn't like insane, you had to put the book down type of thing. It was okay for me to get through. Some people might be different, but there's a lot of trigger warning in this book. And so I advise that you research a little bit of it before going into it. Guys, this is my check-in. I just finished reading the first chapter of Mr. Postman. I think it's called The Postman, which is a chapter or a section primarily about Jude and his background. I just finished reading it. I read, again, I said, the first chapter of this section. I don't know whether it's because I'm hungry, but I'm so lightheaded after reading it. It was like 5 full pages of traumatizing events for Jude. It was terrible. I could not even. I didn't cry, like there were no tears, but I felt things. Okay, so I just finished the second part, and I just finished the first chapter of the third part. And so far so good. Okay, last time I left off, I was like, I need to stop reading, I have a headache. That headache was so long. The moment I stopped reading, and I was starting to feel it a little bit, and then I reached the end of it and I was like, that's it for me, I can't keep reading. Like, I literally have a throbbing headache. And it continued all the way to the nighttime until I fell asleep. I was horrible. I thought it was because, like, I don't know, low sugar or something, or just because I was tired. I don't know what it was, but I needed to lay down. Anyway, I slept on it. It feels much better today, and also this part of the book is not as bad. Right now, the book is going pretty well. I think I can keep going, but I'm not going to force myself because I don't want to get in a reading slump. Like, the only thing I want to get out of this is not a reading slump. But yeah, we're just taking things slowly and at a good pace. So far, so good. You know, I'll keep updating you guys as the vlog continues. I'm still wearing the same shirt. Still wearing the same shirt, yeah.
Oh my god. I'm literally in the middle of reading this right now. I've grown a little too attached to the characters, but like, oh my god. Oh my god, this one is just so sad. It's like one of those moments that he doesn't want to talk about it or explain, or he has never even thought about opening up like the way he did, but he did because he had no choice but to explain himself in this moment. I've read his thoughts multiple times on how he feels about himself, but just seeing him admit it, or not, just reading that he admits it to somebody he truly cares about and has been wanting to admit stuff to him for a long time, just couldn't do it.
I'm literally so close to finishing, and I have a lot to say about this book. I'm very excited to finish it. It's been a long journey. I feel like I've aged 8 years reading this book. Hi everyone, I just finished reading A Little Life and we're going to talk about it now. So, a lot of thoughts about A Little Life. I first off want to talk about, I don't know if I even said what A Little Life was about, but now that I finished it, A Little Life is about primarily 4 friends and their relationship with each other and with other people outside of their friend group. The main character, though it's all 4 of them, is primarily Jude, because this story is primarily Jude, and it goes through his life story of who he is and what's happened in his life ever since he can remember until the end. And so we follow their lives as early mid-college students and on. The book is really, I can't really put a word to it. I can't describe exactly what the book feels like. The best word I want to say is bittersweet, but even that word doesn't cover what I really want it to cover. And the first half of the book is primarily us getting to know the characters, their backstories, and stuff like that. Jude's is the only one that continues throughout the whole book, but for the most of them, we know a good amount by the end of the first half. However, Jude is still mysterious to most of us, and to his friends as well, and everyone who loves him, still very mysterious. By the second half of the book, you get the inside jokes because of the background information we have, and I thought that was a really nice thing to do, because you've read so much about them that it would be terrible if you didn't put anything like inside jokes. I felt like I was part of it. I was part of the inner circle, do you know what I mean? But the first time I read his traumatic event, I had a headache. I needed to sit out, and I recorded that I needed to sit for a minute. And I skipped a whole day of reading because I just had a massive headache. It was a lot to wrap my head around because it was just intense. It was, I don't know, it was like playing in my head, and it was hard to see, it was hard to read. And it was like I was visualizing it too, and I was like, oh my god, it was a lot. But as you read the book, you kind of have an understanding, and then it just gets progressively worse and worse. And I think to myself, how could it get so bad? How does the author have such a creative mind that this keeps popping up? Because I don't understand how you could put a character through so much. How does one meet so many terrible people in one lifetime? Like, I don't understand. And then, oh my god, when I found out what actually happened with the car accident, oh my god. And I remember thinking, a car accident, yeah, his parents died in a car accident, and I was like going along with it until I figured out what the heck was going on. A car accident, it was mental, bro. Jude did not even catch a breath. I thought, my prediction was Jude might have committed by the end of the book. Because of everything that's happened, he might have committed at the end of the book. He did have an attempt, didn't succeed, thankfully, but then Willem died out of the blue. And then he literally spirals. He spirals downwards, not eating, like he doesn't look good. You know, I was reading it and I was like, oh my god, the ending. He's actually he's gonna live. Especially after the part where he threw the food, like the sandwich that Julia made. And like, where the hell was Julia in majority of this book? It was always Harold. Where was Julia? Nowhere. She was literally not there. And then Harold, he's like waiting for Harold to disown him at this point because he's being so terrible. And Harold just comes up and hugs him, and then Julia hugs him, and they're giving him this massive hug. And he's angry still. He's like roaring in between their arms, and Harold's like, my sweetheart, and he just breaks down. And I started crying at that point because I can't imagine his pain of having to endure all of that in his life. The love of his life and best friend dies, along with his other best friend. And then finally, when he's
comforted by words and physically comforted, just breaks down, cries, and then he starts talking about how he studied kids and how he wanted to understand what it was like to be like a normal kid, and that made me so sad because after reading all of that, all of his childhood, oh my god, just hearing him still want to have the chance to be a normal kid after everything he's been through, he's still longing for that feeling of safety, of love, and he's just so sad, and he's still so angry that was taken away from him, and yet he still just really wants this one dream, which is to be a normal kid. And you know, I always thought it was going to be the 4 friends, the 4 musketeers, and then the 3 musketeers, and then the 2, and then the 1. And then the 1. When I was reading the very end, I still don't know how to pronounce it, but the street name where they first lived in, I was confused for a minute because Jude was in 3rd person all of a sudden. It was like, so then Jude went here and Jude did that, and then it answered like he said, I said, and I was like, then who's I? I was really confused for a minute because I wasn't really paying attention in the beginning half because I had a headache reading this last part, but then I figured out it was Harold, and I was like, why is Harold narrating this now? Don't tell me. And I'm reading it, and I'm reading it, and I'm reading, and then suddenly it's like, and then he left, and I was like, he left? What do you mean he left? Because in my head, he was talking about traveling, so I'm like, oh, he left. He left. He left! And then he left. Not like that. He actually left. My overall rating for this book, I gave it a 4.5. And the reason I gave this book a 4.5 is because, well, the reason I gave it a 4 is because of how well the characters were written. At least the main characters. Caleb, I don't know what he was doing here. And there's a lot of sentences in this book that really hit you in a different way. And the reason I gave it a 0.5, like 0.5 more, not a 5, well, I'll say why I didn't give it a 5, but first 0.5 more is because there's a lot to learn from this book, from a relationship, family, friendship standpoint. The friendship that Willem and Jude have in this book isn't like anything I've ever seen. If you think your friends are loyal, you've never met Willem. You've never met Willem. He is such a good friend. And obviously he became Jude's lover in the end, but he was first and foremost his best friend, and such a great friend to him. Because he didn't know how to deal with someone who went through so much. He didn't know how to talk to someone who went through so much, yet he was there. He was present, and he tried his best. And he consistently kept trying. And so there's a lot to learn from Willem as a friend. There's a lot to learn from Harold as a parent, or as a guardian, or someone older than you who loves you so much. Willem and Harold's perspectives are different yet very similar because they love Jude and they have a special relationship to him, but they're different because of the way they see Jude. One sees him as a lover, the other one sees him as a son. There's a lot to learn from Jude as well. Jude is a strong character, and I stand by that. Again, there's a lot to learn about all the characters, a lot to learn from them. I didn't give it 5 stars mainly because there's so many traumatic events in this book, and so many events that most likely were unnecessary. The whole Caleb situation, unnecessary for me, and that's one of the main reasons why I didn't give it 5 stars. And just when you think it could be okay, it gets worse. And that's also why I didn't give it a 5 stars. It was a lot. Would I recommend the book? I want to say that if you feel like you need to read the book, or if you feel like it's your time to read the book, read it. I highly suggest it. But if you don't feel like it's time, or that it will cause you a lot of pain reading it, and you won't be able to recover for a while, I don't suggest reading it. I also suggest going through the trigger warnings just to make sure you'll be able to go through it and it wouldn't affect you in a terrible way. It was a wild roller coaster ride. I never thought I'd get through it, honestly, because of how thick it is. But before you know it, you're like at page 200, and then the next thing you know, you're basically done. Anyway, I hope you guys end up reading it. If not, that's totally okay. Happy reading! Bye!